Today we are painting these birch trees and this soft, misty forest. Birch trees are easier to paint than they look. Today I'm going to share with you my simple formula for birch trees. We wet the trunk, we apply a light wash, we let it dry, then we come back with some strategic darks, and then we put it so that our trees look realistic and not harsh. We also gonna have a little distant forest, so we end up with birch trees in a beautiful landscape. So grab your brushes and let's start painting. I'm putting wet on wet sky because wherever I put the water, the color will go. So I'm staying away from the tree trunks or the birch trees, and the paint then will not go over there. I wetted this one first, but I'm going with a little extra water. So because I lost the shine, it was still wet, but I wanted to give me extra time to work. Put a little bit of color here in the top. This is my Raciena. Oops, too strong. Let's go with water and bring some of that here, which is a hint. So if I go just with water, I can take most of that one out. Oh, dilute it. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm diluting it. All right, so a little bit of color bottom, paint spray. I'm gonna incline my board just enough, whatever my fingers give me. That's all the inclination we need. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start putting this over here. I want it to go from less to more. There we go. And I want it to do whatever it wants, but I need to go very close. Okay, take your time in that. Okay, if you are careful and you have a very pointy brush, then you don't have to match your your tree trunks. You see this? That's exactly what we wanted. There you go. It's a lot of white between here, so I'm coming with a little bit of French ultramarine, and I'm gonna bring some around here. Let's tilt this a little bit more just in case. See if they will mix, and if they don't mix, it's okay. Bring it as close as you can without disturbing that, and then let this dry. Now I let it dry. That way when you tilt it, you don't have to worry the water is going on one end or know that is done. So let's just drop a few here and there. There we go. Now we get a little bit of a transitional color, which is French ultramarine. And then I want this area light, but I don't want it completely white, okay? I have a lot of water, and watercolor dries lighter, so this will be very, okay? I want this to be a little bit lighter, so that's why I start a little bit higher than my snowbank. All right, tilt it. I have a lot of wax here, so I had to help it, because if not, with the tip of my brush, if not, wax up acts as a repellent, and that's why it's not moving as fast as on the other one. So now I got it in my tip of my brush, and I'm just gonna start dropping it like this. Why with the tip? Because otherwise I may have too thick of a line, and I don't want that. Still tilted so that you get that wonderful little look. It's okay around here to be a little darker, so come with extra. And maybe around here too. Extra meaning less diluted paint spray. Okay. Now I'm gonna let it do the magic. I tilt it, but I don't want this white. So I'm gonna bring, actually, for this part over here at the bottom, I'm gonna bring me, while it still is wet, a little bit of my Sminka neutral tint, which is, it's kind of like a gray, but it's warmer. And actually, look, when I put it next to the paint gray, it almost makes it look as if it is almost like if it is a purple, but it's not. It's just neutral tint. And now I go with diluted, because if not, it feels like it's too thin. So with diluted paint gray, and let them mingle here at the bottom. All right, oops, let's just tilt a little bit more, forgot. So we get a little bit more of that stuff. All right. And I don't want the hard edge here, so I'm gonna try to take it off. Ooh, look how lovely this is. I'll just go in with some water because these things over here are a little too thick, so I'm gonna bring some water to help it move. All right, and I got wetness on my paper, but I'm starting to lose the shine, so now I'm gonna leave this to do whatever it wants, and then I will put it flat to dry. Now, can you see how all those impressions of birch trees and the distance have come out just by putting the wax? That's what. Look at these lovely things that are happening. You can see the wax is not even, but that's what we wanted, to make an impression in the back. And this tilting, I think nothing more is gonna happen, so now is a good time to let it rest and wait till it dries. Just like this, we have the impression of a forest that is behind in the background. But look how beautifully this dry. Some of them even look like if they were like evergreens in the distance. But all of these, the paint did for us. I always forgot to show you what kind of brushes I'm using. I am asked all the time. For the wetness of my background, I use my silver black velvet. This is the small size. This carries a lot of water. And for the smaller areas, my Skoda Versatile. This is the Versatile, and this is number 6. Now, we're gonna go ahead and start painting our birch trees, and for that, I'm gonna be using the same number 6 to wet it. And then I have my Skoda Perlas. I'm gonna be using a combination of 6, 2 or 1. I probably use one or the other. I don't think I'm gonna be using both. All right, so let's start by wetting the tree trunk. And then we're gonna, it's a lot of different types of birch trees. Some are almost completely white, and some look like they are almost brown. So I'm gonna make a combination just to show you how you put the different colors. And I like to paint mine with cobalt blue. That's what we're gonna do today. Burnt sienna, and then we will bring some neutral tint either by itself or by the burnt sienna. We're gonna make this in 2 steps. The first one is we wet it, and then we're gonna allow the paint to do the roundness for us. It's pretty cool. The paint is gonna go whatever it is wet. This is my cobalt blue. Now I'm gonna put it in one side of the tree, and I'm not gonna put it everywhere. I'm just gonna skip and put it in some places. I wanna help it in some by going farther. Some I stay close to the trunk, and some I go a little bit out. Okay, let's just bring a few more. You can go with water. This is my number 2. And especially in some of these areas, help it out more. Maybe I lost some of my water here, so I'll come with more water. And now I'm gonna switch. The bottom, by the way, are usually darker. So let's just bring some more water here. Switch to burnt sienna. And then in some of them I'm gonna put it in top. The burnt sienna needs to also be thick. In top of the blue. But in some other ones, I'm just gonna go with it's only white. Okay. Here, like I said, the bottom of the trees are usually darker. That's wet. And you can help it with the tip of your brush to get a little bit of roundness. I'm gonna get neutral tint, or you could use some Payne's Gray if you want to. Go ahead and start putting a few lines. Let's get some. Now this is gonna be a step 1. We're gonna put another step once this is dry. Okay, we will come back. I'm gonna be putting these what I call like half moons, which it is. I start at the edge, then I put a little one, and then a big one. It's kind of dry, so go with water. Only top it up on top of that. Or if you prefer, you can re-wet and then put, reload and put some of those again. Skip parts, you don't want to be too even, but here at the bottom, yes, it will be darker. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start doing the second one. I'm gonna wet it, repetition, okay, wet, put in one end, push if you need to, or the water may do it for you. And that is gonna give us the roundness of the tree. Here, I'm gonna leave this one a little bit lighter maybe in color. So we're gonna come with less paint. We switch to our burnt sienna. Put it a little bit on the circle. I mean, semicircle, not necessarily here at the bottom. I'm trying to be careful because there's wetness out there. There we go. Let's get this dry, wet at the bottom. Again, I don't know, re-wetting with a whole lot of water. I just bring in some dampness, okay? And then we're gonna put, we want this to be here. This is the dark neutral tint with some burnt sienna. And then I do my thing. And what I want, what I'm aiming for is this. A little bit, like it's not just there, it's part of the tree trunk, okay? So help it if you need to. But a lot of times it's enough with what is the dampness that is there. And then look at this one coming up. Again, down a little, up a little. Okay, this is almost ready for me to allow this to dry. I think we got it in a good place. And then we will come back to the final details. Like I said, these are pretty dark at the bottom, so I'll just put in a little bit, re-wet a little bit here, and then put a little bit more over here, but not much. And I'm gonna pretend the sun grass is coming here, so I'll bring in my dark in an uneven way, and then just with the water let those dilute over here. I think we're gonna let this dry now. The paper has to be completely dry. So for this case, maybe a little bit more here. It's okay to use your hair dryer or your heat gun or whatever it is that you use. Let's now it's completely dry, and I'm coming with, you can use neutral tint or you can use paint spray, whichever it is that you're using. And now we're gonna do more like dry brush technique. So I'm gonna come with the darker color, go like a L, like a letter L. And if you want to, you can go lightly with water at the bottom, or you can leave it alone. It doesn't matter. Let's just put a few lines. And as you can see, this is my paint is not watery alone, so that's too watery, so that's why it's taking it a little bit to leave my brush, and that's okay. That's how we want it. It's almost like I said, it's almost like a dry brush technique, because we don't want this color to go everywhere. We want it to stay where we put it. So I do that, and then I do like a little L. Like I said, go a little bit with at the bottom if you want to. This has to be very, very dumb, no water at all. I'm gonna, since this is all I'm doing, I'm gonna speed it up so you can see it, but I don't bore you to death. Before I keep going, I wanted you to see the difference between how it looks when I add the dry brush and the ones that we were having without it. So I'm gonna keep going on this other one. So this is very, like you can see, it's how you put them strategically, but the technique is the same. So it will be a lot of repetition. So I think I'm gonna keep going, and I will call my birch trees done. The technique is wet, add a little bit of color. If you want to be more on the white side, then add only cool blue, or then go with a tiny little bit of the Payne's gray. I liked it with a little bit more color, so that's why I added a little bit of the burnt sienna. Let it dry. At the bottom, these trees tend to be darker, so you can put a little bit of darkness. Once it's dry, then you go with the kind of like a dry brush technique, the Payne's gray or the neutral tint, and then you just put little circles, semicircles, semi-moons, and then you put them in some areas. These trees have a lot of white, so leave it like that. And with these little things come in little knots, that's where you put a little bit of the darkness. So they're very simple to do, and they are very rewarding because they look awesome. Let's finish. This is going to be a bank of snow. What I'm doing is I'm bringing a little bit of water here because I want to have very soft edges. Okay, the snow shadows have to be nice and soft. I go with my cobalt blue, and whatever is wet, it will get soften. And now with the tip of my brush, I soften it over here. Another one here, so I re-wet, and this one is closer, so I can get it a little bit with more color. And then just have a little bit of that in the top, a little bit of the top and the bottom. Continue to put our shadows, wetness. Let's just wet over here. Cobalt blue, and let's get this one like it's go. We got one triangle coming this way. Let's just have another one like this to make our composition more dynamic. Okay? Colors on the back and darker colors here, closer to us. So I'm continue to work only with cobalt blue, but I'm thinking of burnt sienna and the birch tree trunks. Then why not put a few grasses, which are also in the same color, and it will kind of tie everything together a little bit more. Let's bring some neutral tint just to tie everything up, and also to darken these shadows over here closer to us. Burnt sienna, a little bit of raw sienna. I'm gonna start putting some grasses right here. So let me see so my hand doesn't cover what I'm doing. Get a few tall. Then go with a little bit of water and dilute it. So my paint, when I first come over here, my paint is fairly thick, okay? Then maybe we can put impressions of a couple other ones around here. These ones usually tend to have, when it's a snowy day, wintry day like this, sometimes the snow covers the roots of the grasses where they grow. But here we're gonna put like it is a whole thing of them. Anchoring our trees, because our trees were kind of floating there. Yeah, it was snow, but it was, like I said, I got the impression that it was kind of float. I'm bringing a little bit of the dark here at the bottom because most of the grasses is at the bottom is where there's all of them, and then the ones who go taller or shorter, then it becomes lighter on the top because of that. Because I want our eyes to go zigzagging, so let's just make like if a bank of grasses is here as well. I get impressions, okay? We're not trying to put every blade of grasses. We're just making impressions. How do we make impressions? By putting some taller, some lower, and basically that's it. And then a combination of the color. Now I'm coming back with my burnt sienna. It will be, like I said, for what we said before, darker at the bottom, because all the grasses come from the bottom. And yes, then will be some that are taller, and then there will be some that are shorter. So that's when it becomes lighter Just like this, we have a gorgeous, beautiful landscape of a wintry day with the protagonists are two birch trees. This by itself is a finishing painting. If you want to come all the way here and leave it like this, be proud. It is gorgeous. But I'm going to show you how I will put it one little step forward if you want to take the time to do this. Now, I want to show you, just use Payne's Gray. And we pretend that we have kind of like a frozen creek around here. I can bring a few lines. Let me show you. Let's just bring it thin. We're going to give the impression of, because I mean, this will be a creek, that it will be frozen nevertheless. But this gives me two things. For my composition, it guides my eye, but also it brings that color that right now I was only having in the trees over here too, and it makes a painting more cohesive. If you see the tiny little bit of the detail, I feel like it guide our eyes better and tighten the painting a little. I'm gonna put a couple of loose evergreens, like they are a little bit closer to us. I like that a lot. But in this end over here, if I come with some of that sminky and Payne's Gray, both of them, and I put over here the impressions of a couple distant evergreens, not too dark, okay? This color, I want it a little bit darker than the back one, but not too dark. And let's just go like, if I have a few evergreens. Again, this is just the impression. They're far away, number one. And number two, I don't want this to take over from that. I just want to bring yet another element, or maybe darkness, to tie more with the dark of the birch trees. It's totally optional. Like I say, the painting, the way it is, and even the way it was before we put this, was just done and lovely. However, and sometimes that's what happens if you put it over there. Let's just put another one around here. I'm gonna put it in between this wax. So the wax is still gonna repel. The wax is there. It's there to stay. By the way, it's okay. It doesn't harm the paper. You can keep it for years and it will still be there. Fine. Let's just do an impression of another tree. Maybe coming from here, that separates those white trunks and then makes them appear a little bit more. I really like this, so I'm not gonna mess around too much with it. Just put a little bit here, and then let's just pretend that it's the impression of a tree. Let's go with more water. I'm using my number 2 and my number 1 Scuro. And I got a lot of loveliness here that I'm going to leave alone because I don't want to miss all these beautiful transitions. Let's just put one more over here and call it done. All right, we call this painting done. Gorgeous painting. As you can see, painting the birch trees is very simple. If you wet it, put the color, dry, and then go back and put kind of like the dry brush. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that my method of painting birch trees help you to regain some confidence, and then you give them a try. These trees are very beautiful to look at, but they are easier to paint than the way they look. They look harder than they actually are. If you want to continue painting, I'm going to leave you here with a few other landscapes or tutorials that you can follow. And as always, I thank you for being here, and I will see you in my next video.